It is weird to have lower security for this event than other events. It's weird that Trump seemed unbothered.
Super unbothered by it.
Like that, I mean, you would think that a guy like Trump who complains about lawfare and an election.
About everything.
He lost, but is pretending to have won, is like the most thin-skinned guy, biggest victim ideology mindset you've ever seen. And he gets shot at in Butler, he gets, there's an assassination attempt here, and he seems utterly unfazed by both of those things.
We are here, we are at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We are currently underneath the table. There have been shots fired. And we can hear Secret Service ensuring that everyone is safe. We're around our salad courses and we heard a series of shots. And then we heard Secret Service command that everyone get down. And now everyone is underneath their tables. Anthony, is that you?
What?
An armed gunman was arrested Saturday night after allegedly attempting to assassinate President Donald Trump and other Trump administration officials during the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, it was a shining moment for Kash Patel because he was the first one under the table since he started there. So in all seriousness, thank God nobody got killed or hurt. There was someone shot, we'll tell you about, but they're fine. And we're gonna do a controversial poll here on whether it was real or staged. Drums. Okay, let's give you all the facts and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are tons of conspiracy theories out there about how it was staged. I'll give you the details, you can make up your own minds about it. I don't have an opinion on that. Now, authorities have identified 31-year-old Cole Tomas Allen of Torrance, California as the suspect. According to NBC News, Allen was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives when he rushed the security checkpoint at the Hilton Hotel where the event was taking place. The weapons that he had on him were all purchased legally. Now let's take a look at this footage as I explain what you're looking at. This is the CCTV footage that was actually shared by Trump on Truth Social following the event. Now, gunfire was exchanged between Allen and the Secret Service before he was tackled to the ground and arrested. So initially there had been some reports that he had been killed in a shootout with the authorities, but that did not happen. Now there is a manifesto, so we have some clarity on what his motive was here. But before we get to that, actually let me give you those details, and I'll go to you, Cenk. So according to NBC, Allen was a teacher who had no prior criminal history or record. The FBI was not keeping tabs on him because there was no reason to keep tabs on him. There was nothing suspicious about his background. However, his attack during the White House Correspondents' Dinner appears to be premeditated because there was a letter that he sent to his family and loved ones, like briefly before he decided to carry out this attack. So his attack during the White House Correspondents' Dinner was premeditated, according to Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who said on Meet the Press on Sunday that authorities believe the suspect traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then Chicago to Washington, D.C., where he checked into the hotel where the Correspondents' Dinner was at in the last day or two. Allen sent that letter to his loved ones, and he actually apologized to his parents, colleagues, and students, saying, "I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could have seen any other way to get this close, I would have taken it. Again, my sincere apologies." He continued, "I am a citizen of the United States of America. What my representatives do reflects on me. And I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. Well, to be completely honest, I was no longer willing a long time ago, but this is the first real opportunity I've had to do something about it." So I'm just gonna pause right there because immediately people like Brianna Wu, for instance, are like, "Oh, how much you wanna bet that this guy probably screams free Palestine?" No, it turns out that he was a fan of Brianna Wu's, who is a supporter of the genocidal government of Israel. So
that's weird.
Very weird, right?
That is actually very weird.
He actually had put out statements about how he felt that Hassan Piker is too far left.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I did not see that. Okay.
Yeah. So you know, these types of events happen and immediately people try to figure out what the political ideology of the individual is. I want to be clear about something. Even though I'm not one of these terrible libs like Brianna Wu, I certainly do not side with her. I don't think she's responsible for the violent acts that are carried out by someone else. I wish that she had the same, feeling or the same take as it pertains to any other person who carries out an act of violence and might share a political ideology with another group of Americans who are nonviolent. But nonetheless, the finger pointing at groups that had nothing to do with this assassination attempt tend to happen.
Yeah, so that's trippy. That might actually change how I vote in the poll. I didn't know that. That is very strange. Okay, so first, there are reports out that they actually didn't tackle him, that he got tripped, or that he tripped himself. To me, that's irrelevant. Bottom line is,
no, it's relevant. You know why it's relevant? Because we have a serious crisis of competency in this country. Okay, the fact that the Secret Service handled this the way that they did. I mean, the first thing that you do is you try to get the president out of the situation immediately. First person they grabbed was JD Vance. Nothing against JD Vance, but it's weird that they went for JD Vance before the president of the United States.
Yeah, so that's the second weird thing. So look, first, I'm gonna give a caveat that I think that the security was generally fine, okay, which I know not a lot of people are saying. So why do I say that? I mean, he didn't get into the ballroom. No one got hurt or killed. Whether they tackled him or he tripped to me doesn't matter much. Like they got him, and could they have gotten him and found him earlier? I don't think so. I mean, he showed nothing on social media that would lead you to believe that he was going to do something along these lines. He left no hints about it. He only mailed his manifesto 10 minutes before he actually did the crime. So like we can get on him for plenty of reasons, and why are they letting people into the hotel without checking their bags and stuff? Okay, maybe those are legitimate, but overall, the president didn't get hurt, nobody got hurt. I'm a little less worried about security. I am worried about the weird things, like there's no question they take out JD Vance before they get to Donald Trump, maybe about 10 seconds at least.
Cenk.
And that is just super unusual to remove the vice president first. Look, one of the biggest problems with political media right now isn't just bias. It's how quickly the same story gets spun into two completely different realities, depending on who's telling it. That's why I recommend Ground News. It's a website and app that pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum so you can compare how the same story is being covered, who's covering it, and what kind of narrative they're pushing. Now take this story about Pete Hegseth refusing to rule out US troops on the ground in Iran. On Ground News, you can immediately see how differently outlets frame that same development. The Daily Signal downplays the danger by stressing that this isn't Iraq and that the war won't be endless. Meanwhile, NBC focused on the important part, that Hegseth would not rule out American boots on the ground in Iran. Same story, two completely different realities. And Ground News makes that obvious right away. You can compare headlines side by side, see the bias distribution of the coverage, check the factuality ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets behind the reporting. That matters because once you understand how stories are being framed, you start to see how public consent gets manufactured. Ground News also has a blind spot feed that highlights stories that one side of the political spectrum is barely covering. So you're not just trapped inside the version of the world your algorithm wants to feed you. If you're tired of being fed somebody else's narrative, I genuinely recommend Ground News. Go to ground.news/TYT or scan the QR code. Using our link gets you 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. And you could also gift a subscription directly through Ground News. And Trump said something weird about how he wanted to stay and watch. Trump, who's a coward, wanted to stay and watch? That's super weird.
He's also nearly 80 and he appears to be senile to some extent.
Yeah, that could be it.
Honestly.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm gonna get to the poll in a second, but of course, I made a joke about Kash Patel earlier and hence I should be fired. according to Donald Trump and Melania Trump, but we'll get to that part of it in a minute because you can't make jokes about anything. Remember, this administration hates free speech.
They're too woke.
Yeah, that's what they ran
on.
They ran on, we're gonna go to war everywhere and we're gonna make sure no one's allowed to make jokes and take away everybody's freedom of speech. Okay, great. And then this trend of weirdly educated shooters is interesting. Because he went to Caltech. The guy who shot United Health CEO also went to a really good college, and they write interesting manifestos. Their manifestos, by the way, can be completely correct, and the shooting could be hideous at the same time. Just because you've accurately deduced the problem doesn't mean the answer is violence, and just because somebody did violence doesn't mean that they're like the things they were aggrieved about are wrong, right? So those two things are completely separated. Now the obnoxious or controversial poll, because I am genuinely curious. That's why we do these polls, and it's on tyt.com. Do you think the assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' dinner was real or fake? The answers are A, real, and it's offensive to question it. There's plenty of people who voted that way. That's interesting. Real, but people should ask a lot of questions about it. That's B. C
That's where I'm at.
That's where I was at until you just told me some of those details. C, staged, but open to reconsidering after questions are answered. D, absolutely staged. Okay, yeah.
Let's also just be very clear that not a lot of people have voted yet because we just started the show and we just started talking about this story. So let's wait and see what people say. And I haven't finished giving the details, so.
No, I hear you. Like that's just the beginning of it. Go to tyt.com, especially after the story, because we care what you think after you hear the whole story. And to me, honestly, I hadn't heard two parts that Anna said. I've heard all the other parts. So now it's starting to move me from B to C a tiny bit. I'd still vote B right now, but go ahead, Anna.
Okay, so he also stated that he was not trying to target hotel security, employees, or guests, writing in this letter, I would still go through most everyone here to get to the targets if it were absolutely necessary, on the basis that most people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, rapist, and traitor and are thus complicit. But I really hope it doesn't come to that. He also said, I experience rage thinking about everything this administration has done. Now, the Secret Service, along with members of the Montgomery County Police, spoke with Allen's sister as part of their investigation into this shooting, and here's what she told them. Apparently, Allen's sister said that her brother had a tendency to make radical statements, and his rhetoric constantly referenced a plan to do something to fix the issues with today's world. She also said he attended a No Kings protest in California and was part of a group called the Wide Awakes, a network of activists dedicated to social justice issues that bears the same name as the 1860s abolitionist youth movement. So just real quick, getting back to the topic of security at the event, many are questioning whether it was robust enough. Some are arguing that the security at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was incredibly lax. Now, Allen himself even noted that security was very lax at the Hilton Hotel in that letter that he sent to his family, minutes prior to the attack. He says, I walk in with multiple weapons and not a single person here considers the possibility that I could be a threat. This level of incompetence is insane, and I very sincerely hope it's corrected by the time this country gets actually competent leadership again. And while security agents were able to stop him before he entered the ballroom, right? He was able to enter the hotel where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was taking place. He wasn't able to enter the ballroom, right? So that's the big, question here. Sean McCreish, who is one of the New York Times reporters in the hall, wrote this. Several things happened in quick succession. Tuxedoed agents pulled out guns and began running toward the ballroom. White-jacketed caterers screamed and bolted for stairwells. Pandemonium reigned as top cabinet officials were evacuated. This is my favorite excerpt from what he had to say about his experience at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This is the New York Times reporter. Robert Kennedy Jr. and his wife Cheryl Hines came out and were ushered into an elevator. Then Jeanine Pirro emerged. The FBI Director Kash Patel came tearing across the hallway with two men in tow. His girlfriend was in a nearby room with a man who appeared to be a member of security detail and who was holding her hand.
Drums. What?
Okay, maybe we'll get back to that and explore it a little more in depth later when, tensions die down a little bit. But anyway, and then reporters are about to be taken back into the ballroom. The show will go on apparently. Now, eventually the event was ultimately canceled, and the president of the event, I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm not even gonna try, said that it would be rescheduled, who cares? But just to be clear, security was lax, Cenk. The Washington Post reported that the Trump administration actually provided a lower level of security for the dinner than it has done in many other meetings of top officials, despite the president attending along with several members of his cabinet. In such cases, the Secret Service are often given oversight of all security, and the event designated a national special security event, which did not happen on Saturday, the paper reported, citing local and federal officials. Cenk, I mean, let's just keep it real. I mean, what I thought of immediately when it came to robust security were the conventions, the Democratic convention, the Republican convention. I kid you not, you have to go through security 2 miles ahead of the actual venue where the convention is taking place. There's multiple security checkpoints, but they couldn't do something similar given how high profile this event is for this event?
Yeah, well, those are the things that are weird, right? So they got him, so at the end of the day, nothing bad happened, but it is weird to have lower security for this event than other events. It's weird that Trump seemed unbothered.
Super unbothered by it.
That, I mean, you would think that a guy like Trump, who complains about lawfare and an election
about everything
he lost, but is pretending to have won, is the most thin-skinned guy, biggest victim ideology mindset you've ever seen, and he gets shot at in Butler. He gets, there's an assassination attempt here, and he seems utterly unfazed by both of those things. That's weird, right? So guys, the fact that it's weird doesn't mean that it settles anything. When I first read the manifesto and found out who it sounded like a very logical story. Some guy who's, on the left, and he's really mad at Trump, and he's mad at our government for not, arresting the pedophile rapists and protecting them, etc. I think a lot of people feel that way, and now taking it to violence is deeply counterproductive and totally wrong and immoral. But that story to me didn't raise any red flags at all. It seemed okay, that does make sense. And I was ready to just move on. I saw instantly everybody's staged, and left wingers and right wingers saying staged, right? And I was whoa, guys, hold on, we don't know anything yet. It's been a minute, right? But now we do know some things. But I just mentioned two. The third one that you mentioned earlier, the one that I didn't know, that's super weird. Now, I've worked with Brianna Wu and Hassan in the past, right? Hassan's my nephew, and Brianna and I used to work at Rebellion PAC together.
Before she lost her mind, yeah.
No, that's okay. That's between me and her, and so okay, so we don't anymore. But the point is that support. So that hence, I'm not biased in this case. I got no beef with anyone involved, right? So as I look at it, why would a guy who thinks that Trump is doing everything wrong support Brianna Wu and her? At this point, Brianna, in the past when we worked together, she's mainly known as a progressive.
She still hates Trump,
right?
It's just that she hates Muslims more.
So whatever it is, okay. Yeah. But the bottom line is that Israel. He's a fan of Israel, and because there's no one left who likes Brianna Wu, maybe other than me on a personal level, not on the political level, who's a fan of Israel, is not a fan of Israel.
Are you?
Right?
Are you where are you living? Where are you these days? Are you crazy? Libs, normie libs, and I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about members of the media, lib politicians, totally love Israel. Right? They might have a huge problem with Trump.
No, I got you. But so Brianna is at this point 200% in favor of Israel.
Yes.
So there's no one who's anti-Israel or a diehard left winger who is oh, I love Israel as much as Brianna does. That person nearly does not exist. That person is that category is almost extinct. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of Destiny bros left.
No, but that's what I'm talking. Yes, that group, that they exist. I don't think they're representative of Democratic voters, to be honest. I mean, the polling shows they're not representative of Democratic voters, but in terms of media figures or public figures who just have this weird devotion to Israel, but like loathe Donald Trump, yeah, people like that definitely do exist.
And he hated Hassan, but
he didn't say he hated Hassan. He said that Hassan is too far left.
Too far left.
Yeah,
okay,
don't straw man it. Just be very clear about what he actually said.
No, Anna, I'm learning from you. Okay, so I thought that's what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, because I keep saying that's the one thing I hadn't read before. If Hassan is too far left, what is shooting the president? Like, so it's just, Hassan is mainly known, like he said a lot of things, okay, but he's mainly known as being anti-Israel. So this guy doesn't like a guy who's anti-Israel and likes a person who is pro-Israel, very, very adamantly pro-Israel.
Yes.
That is strange for a person who's supposed to be so far left that he's willing to shoot the president.
I know.
Do you see what I'm saying?
It makes no sense. So look, he was clear in that he was motivated by, in his words, Trump being a pedophile, right? In his words, that's what he said in his manifesto. So anyway, look, there was some grilling on Fox News about this. So let's take a quick look at Lawrence Jones grilling Kash Patel on, what happened that night and what the security was like. Take a look.
The president of the United States is averaging an assassination attempt once a year. And there's still protocols so who's gonna do the investigating of the procedures? Secret Service can't investigate themselves because there's still people in leadership at the Secret Service that were responsible for Butler. How does that happen? It was a failure.
Right, I can't speak to Butler and I agree it was a total failure, absolutely. But I have full confidence in Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen.
This country, the leadership in this country is an embarrassment. Like there's nothing else that I can say about this. And for me personally, my only real take on this story, the only thing that I feel in regard to this story at this point is terror and how desensitized I am. I'm so desensitized by violence after seeing mangled bodies in the Middle East every single day over and over again. Violence is just part of our daily lives now. So, another assassination attempt on the president of the United States. They didn't have enough security. Golly gee. Why is this country's leadership so incompetent?
Yeah, so those are all great, fair points. I'm kind of obsessed with, why do I care about the Trump assassination attempts more than Trump does? That's so weird.
And he immediately exploited it to talk about the freaking need for a ballroom. Like I just want to go to sleep. I want to go to sleep and I just want to wake up and live in a country that's led by competent people. That's what I want.
Yeah, well, you definitely speak for America on that one for sure. But guys, last thing on this. So they then jump onto this ballroom thing and everyone in MAGA tweets the same exact thing, right? And we've got some sort of graphic on it, I think somewhere. Interestingly, it's like Laura Loomer, blah, blah, and MAGA.
Let's go to graphic 11, so embarrassing.
But also John Fetterman. So apparently John Fetterman is getting the same talking points that the rest of MAGA is getting. So that's pathetic to the extreme. So it's definitely a talking point. Then the question becomes, wait, did they have that ready before the shooting? Or after the shooting, don't let any crisis go to waste. Use it as an opportunity. Oh my God, we need to foxtrot in the ballroom because of this shooting at the Hilton. Wait, what? Right? So my guess is that they jumped on it after the shooting, not before the shooting.
Of course.
Yeah. So no, because there's theories out there that they had it planned all along and this was to get the ballroom. But a fake assassination attempt to get a ballroom, that seems less likely.
I want to go to one, yeah, I don't see any evidence of that. I do see the clownish behavior immediately after where it's like, this is an opportunity to really lobby for a freaking ball. I don't care about the ballroom, just shut up about the ballroom. Just build a damn ballroom and shut up. Like that's what I want when it comes to the ballroom. I don't care about the ballroom. I'm sick of, these are men. These are men who are supposed to be leaders of this country whining about a ballroom.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a crisis of masculinity in the country and it's right at the top, okay? I want to actually go to the video where they're talking about the ballroom. Let's go to that.
And we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, it's not a particularly secure building. And I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before.
The military is demanding it. That's exactly what the military, in fact, right now, that's what the military is thinking about. We must have the ballroom. That's the most important thing. Just build the damn ballroom. Okay, federal judge who put a pause on it, just lift it. Let him build the damn ballroom and have them shut the F up already, okay? How about that?
I totally agree. I mean, they got to build something. I don't really care. That's not an issue that affects the American people at all. Like, do you notice that Trump's constantly doing things that are about the elites? Like, oh, I'm gonna get the Kennedy Center to be more right wing. Literally no one in the country cares about the Kennedy Center outside of super rich people in Washington, okay? And if you're among those people and you really wanted to go to the left wing ballet instead of the right wing ballet, sorry, but literally no one else cares. Oh, the ballroom, where are they gonna do-si-do and do ballroom dancing? No one cares.
Dude,
okay?
Charlie Kirk gets shot in the throat and killed before everyone, okay? Trump gets asked about it the next day. He immediately pivots to the ballroom. There's something wrong with this man.
Yeah.
There's something not right with him. Okay?
And that's what I was going to go to last, because I'm obsessed with the poll on TYT.com. Am I going to vote B or am I going to vote C? I was so solidly B that no, it's real, but I ask a lot of questions about it, right? But like now, if I get shot at for the second time and it's the third potential assassination attempt, there was a guy who couldn't get the shot off at the golf club, right? I would be furious. I'd be like, what is going on here? How many times am I gonna get shot at? Can we get this under control? I wouldn't be like, and we're gonna have a nice ballroom. It's gonna have golden bathrooms and the toilets are gonna be great.
And
we're gonna do some square dancing.
The military, no, not the military, okay? No one cares about the ballroom, just build it and shut up. Let's move on.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.